right outside of Dallas, a place called Cockrell Hill. And they're all the way from Florida. We're currently in Dallas, and that is off of Cockrell Hill, and that's a very full Walmart. Usually want to go around the sides or sometimes the middle. Where the reserved parking and the numbers are is where you want to go. Alright, so we have about 4 Walmart deliveries coming out of Cockrell Hill, Dallas. Looks like it's going to be 5.7 miles on the first one. 11 minutes will be there at 8:30 p.m.
A lot of his people that work for him.
Yeah, she was a big George Bush fan. It's like, George Bush is in Dallas doing paintings. Does paintings. She's pretty nice. All right, now to the next one. All right, next delivery, there'll be 2 more. It's going to be 5.4 miles, 12 minutes. We'll be there 8:50. I said there was 4 deliveries. Well, there are actually three different houses, but 4 items is what I meant to say. But that was the first one. There'll be another one, and then one more, and then we're good. All right, guys. Uptown, there's some cinema. Grand Prairie Arts Council. I guess we're in Grand Prairie. Yeah, this order is going into Grand Prairie, which is where my second wife is from, who has all the babies. She has the children. And we're just going through old school district, historical district, Grand Prairie for the second drop-off. And probably going to be getting a major boost upgrade on the internet tomorrow, as long as I wait for the musician. I mean, not the musician, I'm sorry, the technician, but he's probably a musician too. But the technician, to see what's going on with what, you know, my setup, you know, because really I should be able to get these shows up pretty quick. They're only 20-minute bursts. At Apple, I got 4 shows up in a seating. Well, I got the 4 cut in a seating because I can cut it quicker once I upload the other one. I have more room on my phone. You know, once I send up a show, then I can, you know, erase that off my phone and it goes up to YouTube, and then I can work on the other show, because I still have to export, which requires memory. It's hard to explain, but regardless, the faster the internet, just, you know, maybe the better quality shows. And, you know, I do like the idea of just doing 1 or 2 shows, a 20-minute and another 20-minute. I like the idea of doing that. Got ourselves Trade Winds Motel. All right, guys, we got 4.4 miles to go. We'll be there in 10 minutes. This is the last drop for tonight. Walmart, 9:05 p.m. Just thinking about Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. There's a kid, or a young man. He did like a 5-hour YouTube post, the most incredible thing. Got millions of views. Don't really see him around. I'll have to find his name. Again, I'll have to look it up. But it's an incredible post. If you like Blood Meridian, which is Cormac McCarthy. Cormac McCarthy is a Southern writer that has his own style, similar to maybe like Faulkner. but he has a certain voice that's distinct and very biblical sounding, and uses the word "and" quite a bit. I read Blood Meridian cover to cover a few times, didn't get any of it. It's just, it doesn't seep into you very well, because it's written in a very different voice. Just like Faulkner's hard to understand. But I read it also jumping back and forth reading a collection of Stephen King books up in Maine when I read it. And the Stephen King, what I read was Different Seasons. And a few other samples. I read a bunch of samples of Stephen King stuff. But I used to be an avid Stephen King fan, so I've read several of his books. One of my favorites is Misery. But anyway, Blood Meridian, it does take time, and I do recommend this guy's post if you can find it. It's got like millions of views. It did very well. He should do other books as well. He finds it kind of funny because of Cormac McCarthy's hatred towards a certain type of people over the border, if you know what I mean. Not Cormac McCarthy himself. I'm saying from the protagonist's point of view of the story, but Cormac McCarthy's protagonist hatred. You know, his character. It's his character. The character's hatred. You wouldn't think the author does at all, but I don't really know. But anyway, you have to read Blood Meridian to understand what I'm saying, and I'm talking about Mexico. But you have to read it also because it's about the Native Americans getting scalped. I believe the Apache, which is my ancestry, getting scalped for mere dollars, and it's very, very violent. All right, that's all I want to say about Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian. Okay, so the Blood Meridian post that I'm talking about is Wendigoon, and he got 5.1 million views, and it's a 3 hour and 15 minute presentation. There's also a green screen, so it does change scenes in the middle of it, and I thought it was longer. I thought it was a 5 hour. It was a 3 hour and 15. Still a really good one, and I don't know, he could have done that for, I mean, that was doctorate level, that was PhD level explanation in my terms. He may have done it on his own though. I don't know if it was scholastically connected, most likely probably not, but it certainly could be used in English classes. I think he did a really good job of giving kind of a Cliff Notes explanation scene by scene of the entire book in 3 hours and 15 minutes, which would be very difficult to do, but he pulled it off. Wendigoon did. I just learned that Cormac McCarthy died June 13th of 2023 in New Mexico. He was from Rhode Island, but I didn't know. I just now found out. I was talking about Cormac McCarthy died at the age of 90. He was born in 1933 and died on June 13th of 2023, which was this last June. Didn't even know until right now. And it's November, so let's see, how late am I? June, July, August, September, October, November. Yeah, it took me 5 months to figure it out. I didn't hear anything. I don't watch a lot of news. I watch usually NBC with Lester Holt. I would watch Fox News too, because I know my old church is a big fan of Fox News, but they don't really put it on YouTube daily all the time. They might, but it's available. NBC, YouTube is available for me, so it's a little news that I do get. I should have heard about this. I went to Wikipedia, do some research on him, found out that he was from Providence, Rhode Island, born in 1933 and died in New Mexico. I want to say maybe Albuquerque. I'll have to find out where, but it was June 13th that Cormac McCarthy was last alive of this year, 2020. All right, I found out it was Santa Fe, New Mexico, that Cormac McCarthy, he passed away. June 13th, 2023. He has an institution out there that helps develop writers and thinkers. It's his own institution that he created along with other artists and everything that are out in New Mexico. No, I don't know if it's New Mexico. It may be Santa Fe. I think it's called the Santa Fe Institute. It is Santa Fe. I always think New Mexico. It's Santa Fe. It's New Mexico, Santa Fe. I was thinking Albuquerque, but it's Santa Fe. Anyway, we're going up. some real quick notes about Charles McCarthy, known as Cormac McCarthy. He is full. All right, so first, some quick notes about Cormac McCarthy. He was born Charles Joseph McCarthy Jr., and he did have siblings. He was born in Providence, Rhode Island. His family was poor. He was Irish Catholic, and he said that they were rich because they lived in they didn't live in a shack, basically. But he did eventually live in a shack. Cormac McCarthy did, with no floor. He had it pretty bad. Now that they found out he was writing when he was, living very poverty-stricken, and I think some, I can't remember the name of the publisher, but they found out that he was writing, and they wanted his material, and they were able to get it. And the first one was called The Orchard Keeper, I believe in 1968. I haven't read it. The only ones that I've read was Blood Meridian, but I also had The Crossing for a while. I read The Crossing, and I've read the sample to, I read the sample to Sutri when I was in Maine, which I thought was an interesting book. And also The Passenger, I read the whole sample on that one because I live on a tight budget. And then there's also the Stella Maris, which is the sequel. But he has great books. He wrote great American stories. Great American author. Another note about Cormac McCarthy, a couple of things. He did use the word "and" quite a bit. So instead of separating things with commas, which he rarely ever used a comma, he would always use A&D. I am kind of weird about that too on my YouTube post. I don't like that little symbol that represents "and," but I'll use it to scrunch up things together. Another thing, he used the word saved, or no, I'm sorry, save, for the word, I'm trying to think of the other English term. I don't know what this is. I'm on the highway, for the love of Mary. The other term is, I think, besides. So he didn't use the word besides, which I can see him using save instead. Save was, now I could be wrong. I'm not an English major. I'm kind of guessing. But if you look at the word beside, or besides, or sometimes maybe the word without, he would use the word save. It's very strange, but you could say something like, Cormac McCarthy was a novelist, save his poetry, right? Because he also wrote poetry and plays. And that besides his poetry and plays. Do you see what I'm saying? So save was used all the time. He liked to use save all the time. And he had his own style. He had his own words, so he was speaking his own voice. There's Six Flags over that way. It's interesting. It's all his books. It's always there. Save and he never went into normal prose, you would say, like other authors, but none of the authors had to. It was more of, I call it a poetic. And the clock is ticking. Sorry about that. This thing talks in a movie theme, but I say it was more of a poetic language. And so is Faulkner in a way, because of the elongated paragraphs, and at times just he kind of rambled at times, and then finally got to a point, and then would become very simple. I think Faulkner was a little worse at it. If you read Faulkner, like Go Down Moses and things like that, where the paragraphs are very, very thick and long, and Cormac would go on quite a bit. I didn't know he passed away. It's a sad thing. I always wanted to meet him. He's one I would get the autograph and definitely save that autograph. You can see they're getting ready for Christmas. The lights right here. Anyway, I kind of consider my vlog a little bit of a book at times, although I have to focus more on language. but there are notes and things that I bring about, and I do write. So I try to, as much as I can, go home and work on my screenplay. And I have attempted books. Well, Escape from Maine was one of them. Of course, you know, The Untitled and A Thief's Story, all those. They're all partially published on Fan Fiction and Fiction Press. And I do have a collection of short stories. And I used to have hundreds and hundreds of poems on poetry.com. Now I moved everything over to Facebook. And I did write a poem last night and put it in categorized under my, it's called, I believe I call it Poems or My Poems, one of the two. Or I think it's My Poems. I have to find out what it says on my categorization on Facebook. But it says Poems. And then I have my own collection that I've collected for a while on my Gmail. And I have quite a bit collected there. Remember, all my screenplays, I have sometimes 20 different versions of the same screenplay, but it's just different times when I wrote it, so it has different. So the reason I did that was because I don't do it anymore. I only save one version now. So if I'm writing a screenplay, there should be only one version. The reason I kept those older versions was because I wanted to show how things kind of, how they develop, and also if someone wanted to do an early version of the screenplay as opposed to me doing rewrites in a more advanced version. But I am not doing that anymore. Now I'm only going to present one screenplay. Meaning I have more than one screenplay. I have probably maybe 30 or 40 of them, but I'm only going to keep one for the sake of organization. Now, with Escape from Maine, I did attempt to go back and begin to rewrite the book, which is almost 1,000 pages. But I figured that would be a big chunk of my time because it took me 17 months to write it, which isn't terribly too long. But if I were to go and rewrite it, that'd be another 15 months of writing, and I have to work, as you can see. So it would be, I probably use the word so, like Cormac McCarthy used the word save, but so is a more colloquial, common word, and I rarely use it that much when I'm actually writing. So, it doesn't come off as purely my own voice, but this probably does, as I'm speaking into a recorder, like Orson Welles style kind of thing. Also, that little symbol that means and is called an ampersand. That's the English name for it, ampersand. It's very difficult dealing with media and YouTube. I love words, but maybe I got tired of them and I just wanted to speak into a recorder and show things. It's probably quicker to get the story across, at least something. That's Fort Worth, sinking behind the trees. I guess in writing you have maybe a little more time to kind of craft the words together, kind of sculpt out a story using only words, and then maybe imagery if you wanted to record it as you did it, like I do sometimes. But what makes a movie is just simply moving pictures with sound. Next shot will be just Fort Worth coming through this window over there. I lied. Go Rangers. Personally, Cormac McCarthy wanted to leave behind beautiful stories using beautiful language, which he was very careful about. Now, he was raw, and he wasn't always kind, and he was graphic in his violence. Some say maybe one of the most violent writers we've ever had, since maybe Stephen King, or other horror writers, which he was not a horror writer. He was a great American novelist. But, you know, No Country for Old Men, violent. Blood Meridian, even Dennis Hopper turned that down, saying it was too violent to make into a movie. I don't think Lynch would touch it. And nobody really wants to challenge that into a movie. They'll talk about it, but it doesn't make him a bad person. He did want to leave beauty behind. Here we go with The Lord is Your Keeper, Psalms 121:5. Psalms 121:5. But there is a spiritual side to Cormac McCarthy. I think every English professor that teaches his work will refer to the Bible, without a doubt. And I think Cormac McCarthy was probably a reader of the Bible. He was raised Irish Catholic. But he left behind beautiful words, making up beautiful stories.